This is Iracing, the world's premier online racing game. Iracing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iracing.com.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round number 4 of the Radical Race Series, the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series here at the Detroit Grand Prix circuit. My name is Daniel Hanover, and joining me in the commentary box is actually no one. I'm going to be doing a solo comms today. Ewan will be joining us for the foreseeable future with these rounds, but it will just be me for this evening. That does mean, though, that we're going to be having some good action as we normally have seen throughout this series. I'm very, very excited to continue watching that action. It's been a very very interesting few rounds so far. And Detroit is definitely a circuit that we've not been to, or unlike any other circuit that we've been to this particular season so far. So no, we're only 4 rounds in. We're about a third of the way, or a quarter of the way through. A third of the way through. Sorry. Which is surprising. Time has gone so quick. We're already a month into this series for season number 2 of 2022. But it's looking to be a very, very good season nonetheless. Now, Detroit Circuit, you can see on the track map, it's a very, very stop. There's quite a lot of braking opportunities, quite a lot of heavy braking opportunities here as well. So we are hopefully going to see some pretty good racing here, some pretty good overtaking. We were speaking to a couple of drivers last week as well. I know Simon Edwards is very much looking forward to this. We've got the likes also as well of John Hutchinson, although I haven't actually seen him in practice. So I don't think we have John Hutchinson today. Which would be a bit of a shame because he's absolutely dominated for the last for 3 out of 4 rounds. But it'd be interesting to see what happens if he is not there. I can't see him I can't see him currently at the moment, although he may very well drop in a little bit later on. Have a quick look at the standings before we get underway in qualifying, of which qualifying has just started. Here we go. So John Hutchinson is still leading the way with 115 points. Simon Edwards is P2, and then Martin Booker is P3 with 79. Paul Crabb 71. He's in P4. Then Dave Kirkman, Sergio Martinez de la Cruz, Graham Brown, Phil Jocelyn, Paul Clark, Graham Brown. That's your top 10. Still pretty close. That midfield is very close, actually. If you think you've got 20 points separating P7 to P18. So it's very, very close for that standings currently. Although, again, we're only a third of the way through. A little bit further down, you can see there Peasley, Seaborn, Brown, Paula May, Daryl Taylor, Austin Greterex. Austin Greterex jumping in last time out with very, very minimal drive. I think he only had about 10 minutes of practice before he jumped in. Tim Adcock, Annie Gill, Mike Busson, and then Dave Dowson in P28. So that's your current standings after round 3 going into round 4. But that will certainly close up as we go through this season. We have not got John Hutchinson, but interestingly enough, we don't have what I can see. We don't have Simon Edwards either. So neither Hutchinson or Edwards currently in this race, which is certainly going to open up things. I mean, well, Mike Buston's already just put a very, very good qualifying time on the table straight away. Here we go. There is Mike Buston there with a 124.525 currently. Again, these times will start to come down. Paul Crabb's only a 10th and a half behind. But the times are going to start coming in. Dave Kirkman, 124.7. Graham Brown, 124.9. So this is a very, very short circuit. Oh, I think Buston tapped the way he did there. I wonder if he's already has he got steering damage? He might do. Car looks like it's crabbing a little bit. Yeah, it looks to be crabbing. That was a pretty hefty hit. It's one of the things you've got to watch out for here. These cars, very, very... They can take a little bit of a hit, You do have to be careful. Mike Buster's still going ahead, though. He's not jumping back into the pit, so he's trying to make the most of the car and trying to make the most of that lap there. Dave Kirkman in the Virtually Motorsport at number 88. I think he's tapped the wall at some point as well. You can have a look at the wing. The wing's got a little bit of damage. Not too much, but that will be affecting ever so slightly. He goes down the heavy braking zone of turn 6. Very, very heavy braking zone this is. Paul Clark, yeah, Paul Clark's just gone into P2. That's a very, very fast time for Paul Clark there. Martin Booker, though. Look at Martin Booker, the first person in the 23s with a 23.8. There's a couple more purple sectors, of which Dave Kirkman has set one of them. I wonder if we're going to see, although it depends when that contact was made with the wall, because any contact with the wall will result in a 0x, which does result in no time again. It's very, very close once again. Currently, the top 13 only being separated by a couple of seconds. So it is getting certainly close. Dave Kirkman now coming down to the final couple of corners. Great camera angle this as well. Really, really get the cars. You can see the sense of speed that these cars are able to carry through these corners. As we go through, just about brushes the wall, but manages to keep out of it. Same with there. And as we go down, 1:24.77 was the previous lap. And look at that. 1:23. Whoa, Graham Brown straight in there with a 1:23.573. So that's going to be the benchmark. So Dave Kirk was briefly in a podium position starting in qualifying, although that is not going to be the case anymore. He's dropped down to P5 because everyone's just moving forward now. James Child, he goes up into second with a 1:23.773. Martin Booker, though, he's just done another personal best. He's done another session best with a 1:23.487. He was very much looking forward to this race as well when we were speaking to him. Pat Seaborn, he doesn't improve. He does improve on his last lap, so he's currently at P9. Couple of drivers left to go that haven't made lap times yet. Interestingly enough, there's a couple of drivers who haven't actually gone out on circuit. Dave Dowson, Austin Gretterate, and Kevin Budgeon. Neither of those three have actually gone out onto the circuit, although Dave Dowson is in pit lane. So he's done a couple of that. Ray Peasley, it's up into 16th for number 3. So he goes up. He has got, this is actually that's his lap done and dusted. So he won't be getting any more laps in. It's simply, this will simply just be, again, that little bit of additional practice that he gets into. Very, very close in that midfield again. Very close in the midfield. Darryl Taylor is on his final flying lap. He set a couple of green sectors, but no purple sectors. But he has set some green, so we may see a fast lap here. He's only got to make a couple of tenths, and he'll go up into the up in 10th place, and he'll push Graham Brown out. Have a look. Sergio Martinez de la Cruz goes up into P6. So he now moves up. Again, very, very fast time. Are we going to... So again, it's really close. It's very, very close once again. And again, we've seen this time and time again, how close it does get. Because it really, really does get... It really does get close. And like I said, these cars here, I wonder, the cars are, these cars are pretty fast. We know that, obviously. 1701 Nero says, hail. So, hello, 1701. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being with us here. Yeah, while these cars, while this is going to promote some very, very good racing, as the circuit produces some very, very good racing, I wonder, are we going to see... Potentially, are we going to see... It's so hard to say. It's so hard to say. It really is. And I think that's actually Darryl Taylor. Yeah, he's not going to be doing any more there. Kevin Budgeon, he's going to go... Actually, no, his final lap's done and dusted as well. So this is going to be another couple of moments. Then we're going to be ticking over into qualifying. Kevin Budgeon's getting those final bits of practice in. I think he touched the wall there again. No damage on the car. It definitely looked like he touched that barrier. Almost was certain he touched the barrier there. It looked very, very close if it wasn't. Oh, it's Chris. Hello, Chris. So I wondered if it was. I wasn't too sure. Thank you very much for tuning in. Going to be obviously watching some action, obviously from the series that you've been running and you've been organising for the last few seasons. Shame that we can't see you out on circuit, but it's going to be a close one nevertheless. Have a look at that in the top. The top 5. We've got the top 5, top 6, 7, 8 cars all within half a second of one another. In fact, the top 9 cars all within half a second nearest makes no difference there. So it's very, very close, and it's going to continue to get closer, I would imagine, within this race. As people start to get more used to the cars, there's going to be some battles. It's going to open up naturally, but I feel there's going to be some very, very good battles here, and that is indeed the end of quali. So we're going to bring you the grid in a few moments' time. In fact, here it is. Martin Booker takes pole position, with then Graham Brown in second. Colin Wynn takes P3. And then we have Paul Crabb, James Child P4, Paul Clark in 5th. Paul Crabb takes P6, Sergio Martinez de la Cruz in 7th. Dave Kirkman takes P8, Darryl Taylor in 9th. Mike Busson takes P10. Pat Seaborn comes across the line for qualifying in P11. And we have Graham Brown P12. Dave Rolderston in 13th. Martina Ward takes P14. On the grid, Richard Brown 15th. Ray Peasley takes P16. Damien G 17th. Michael LeMay takes P18. Dave Dowson 19th. Kevin Budgeon 20th. And then Austin Greterex for the Porsche Sport Radical. Seems still a bit strange to say, but there we are in P21. Cars making the way out onto the grid. Standing start as ever here, remember? But we are going to be getting ready to go. There is Martin Booker, the pole position man, ready to make a start. Like I said, he said he was quick here. He said he was quick. Let's see how this materialises. Lights are about to go out. Hi, John. Thank you for tuning in, mate. And away we go here. This is it. Away. There's a very, very slow start. Can't because that was James Child having a very, very slow start. But I tell you what, that's Martin Booker getting a very, very clean run, going down into turns. The first bit of complex. There's a couple of slow drivers, but everyone manages to get away cleanly. In all honesty, there's a couple of moves a little bit further down the order. There might be a move here potentially. I thought that was Dave Kirkman. Going to try to go inside of Martinez de la Cruz. He tries to go on the outside instead. Is he going to get sandwiched? Oh, there's a crash. But that was Graham Brown. Graham Brown's had a spin. I wonder where that came through. Richard Brown's also had a moment. Kevin Budgeon's also had an instance. There's a couple of instances we're going to have a look at in a couple of laps' time. There's a little bit of a gap already that's gone between Mike Busson and James Child. James Child getting pressured quite heavily by Dave Kirkman. Is he going to try and make a move? There's a bit of a rundown here. You can take a little bit of pace going down into the corner. You've got a bit of slipstream as well. It's last of the late breakers. Dave Kirkman versus James Child. Who is it going to be going into the right hand? And I think it's going to be Kirkman. Yes, it is. He just about gives enough room to James Child. Cuts him off going through the left-hander as well. So that is done and dusted there for Dave Kirkman. Very, very good move indeed. Up the front, though, Paul Clark's having a bit of a battle with Paul Crabb. They've certainly had a few instances. Oh, Paul Crabb. I thought he was in the wall then. That was so close. I thought he was going to go in the wall, but he manages to avoid it. Although that, unfortunately, has meant that Paul Clark has lost out on that position. A bit further down, only a couple of positions down in the same battle. Mike Busson versus Darryl Taylor. Nothing at the moment, though. Will manage to stay in check. So, an interesting first lap, to say the least. There we are, the intervals out on track again. Anything that is in yellow, is less than a second. Anything that's in orange is less than half a second. There's a fair bit of sea of orange and yellow there. So this is the close battle, or the close train that's been left. Paul Clark is leading this train. So Paul Crabb is leading the train. We then have Paul Clark behind. And then it's just Martinez de la Cruz, Taylor, Busson, Kirkman, Child, Seaborn, Brown, Ward, and then Debbie G all the way in the back there as well. So very, very close all through here. Now that does promote. This is going to promote some good racing, some good time management as well. What it is going to do also as well, as we see Sergio Martinez having an even longer name than usual. We will get that adjusted. Apologies. Through that, as Sergio's last name takes up, Sergio's name takes up the entire bottom left of the screen. But yeah, it's going to promote some tyre management here. Last thing you don't want to do is you don't want to push the car too aggressive. You don't want to use up too much of the tyres. John Hutton says, looking forward to some carnage. I mean, in all honesty, that was, I'm not going to say anything, actually. I'm going to say that, but it was a clean start. So let's have a look at the few instances that were there. Actually, one of which, so Kevin Budgeon had a moment. This was on the first lap. This is what happened to Kevin Budgeon. Did he just get tapped? Maybe he hit the wall? Oh, yeah, just lose it on the bump. Wow, very, very... I mean, it's easy to do. Cold tides especially are not going to help the situation in the slightest. This is what happened to Graham Brown. It's not in P2, bear in mind. Unfortunately, he's all the way down into P16. I reckon looking at it, he may have got on the... Oh, there we go, locked up. Looks like it was locked up the rear. Everyone did well to avoid. So, certainly a shame for Graham Brown. There he is there, all the way down in P16. But he did the right thing, though. He did the right thing. He didn't push. He didn't try and get back on the circuit and try and go straight away. He let everyone go by, which is the safest thing to do. It's so frustrating, but it is the best thing that you can possibly do there. As he goes down into... He slots it in two. He's got 4. That's Martina Ward ahead. So you may see... I mean, this may see a bit of a battle come about, or Graham Brown may just be let his tyres settle in, let his tyres push. But it's only 17 laps. Nearly a third, nearly a quarter of the way through. In fact, we are a quarter of the way through, actually, I think, through this race. Yes, we are. Graham Brown goes for a move, possibly up the inside. And I think it's going to be last of the late breakers, of which it is Graham Brown going down into turn 1 and 2. Does Martina will get the help back? No. So that is a position for Graham Brown. So he is now up into 15th. It's going to be another move from Martina Wall, potentially. The slipstream doesn't look like it's powerful enough, though. That seems to be the move completed there. Moving back further up the field, have a look at this. Paul Clark still leading this train. Paul Crabb has sort of sailed off into the distance, as has Martin Booker and Colin Wynn. So Sergio Martinez de la Cruz, 2 tenths behind. Darrell Taylor, 3 tenths behind. Mike Busson, who we're watching now, he's another couple of tenths behind. All Constantina up, going into the right-hander. What a deceiving right-hander that. You think it's faster than what it is. You have to be a little bit careful because that wall creeps up on you very, very quickly on the outside. Nothing as of yet happening, although, again, everyone just biding their time. You'll let the tyres just keep in check for the moment. You can see there, actually, as well, that train's so close, and one wrong move from any one of these drivers is just going to result in just absolute chaos. Obviously, that is the last thing that we want to happen, but it's all even Stevens there, although Mike Busson goes a little bit wide. Dave Kirkman, I thought he was going to have a bit of a look there. I mean, it's almost an impossible corner to overtake on, in all honesty, but I thought he was going to have a little bit of a look. 5 laps have gone. A little bit wide there for... That was a little bit wide for Mike Busson. That's, again, Dave Kirkman is just hyper-aggressive, isn't he? He's so committed on the brakes. I mean, it's working for him. He's managing to keep the car, but I just always think he looks to be a little bit too aggressive, in all honesty. But on those brakes, I don't know if he's just going to... I don't know what's going to... Actually, you know what? Wow. That wasn't... that was actually Mike Busson actually trying to get past Martino. No, that's Darrell Taylor. So Darrell Taylor's had a moment there. So I thought it was going to be a potential move from Busson, but decided against it. Only gets it through, so nothing at the moment. Martinez, de la Cruz. It's battling Paul Clark. There's a bit of a battle brewing, I think, at the moment. I think Martinez may just be biding his time a little bit. And we'll have to see. Damien G has just got past James Child, and James Child's had a crash. That is what? That's a big incident there. We have got a couple of replays to have a look at. One of which was Kevin Budgeon, because Kevin Budgeon's had a moment. What happened to Kevin Budgeon? Does he lose it on the brakes? I think a bit too aggressive on the... Oh, just grabs the curb on the inside. Oh dear. Grabs the curb. That wasn't as big as I thought. Martina Ward has also had a moment. Is this a little bit too aggressive on throttle? Perhaps maybe a bit too much over the curb. Actually, I don't know. Oh, there we go. That is unfortunately... I wonder if that's some steering damage, perhaps there, because that was didn't look like a especially big hit at the front, but that will make a surprising amount of difference. Now, what happened to James Charles? This is the final replay before we go back to live action. Is it again a bit too much on the? Oh wow, yeah, that's very. That was a bit too fast on the way in. Manages to keep it out of the barrier though, so fair play. I said a brief spin. Unfortunately, that has lost him a fair few positions in all honesty, which is something that obviously isn't the best. Now, despite the gaps opening up, I thought that would have been due to the fact that there'd been a couple of moves, but everyone's actually managed to stay the same. It's just the gaps have opened up. 7 laps have gone out of the 17 that we have. Michael LeMay has had what looks like a big moment. In fact, there was a fair bit of a battle. So we can have a quick look at this battle. This is between Kirkman and okay, interesting there. So Kirkman needing no second invitation to get up the inside of Mike Busson, but then he loses the position again somewhere later down the line. I don't know where that would be. I don't know where. Oh, is this going to be? Oh, there we go. Wow, I tell you what, Dave Kirkman, fair play for keeping that. That's why the gap opened up there. Dave Kirkman tried to make a move on Daryl Taylor, but was unsuccessful, and that cost him the position that he gained back on Mike Busson. He's going to have to do that all over again, which is certainly going to be tricky there. Indeed, we have 10 people watching live, so thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And if you haven't already, please make sure you do catch up and do hit that subscribe button, because we are going to be watching this racing every single week here for the next 8 weeks. I can't believe 4 weeks has already gone. Absolutely madness. So this battle it's settled down, I would say, a little bit. It's not too, again, we're only halfway through now, so there's still a fair ways to go. So these battles will start to open up again. Will close up, I should say. One of the other battles we got here, James Child versus Dave Rolliston. This is the battle that's, it's been about 3/10 for a few laps. Last lap times between the pair, they've been swapping lap times. Actually, as I say that, it was it was about half a second of a difference here, and this actually could be a move sooner than I thought. James Child is going to be inside of Dave Rolliston. He's actually got the move done pretty much before the corner. Is there going to be I think there might be a little bit of a cutback here. If the gap stays about, what's that, 3/10 of a second. Yeah, so James Child now up into P12 after that earlier spin. So managing, though, to keep it out of the barrier, which, again, is the main thing. It's the main thing he wanted to do. Even though he spun, kept it out of the barrier. This is the other battle that's going on. Only a couple of positions behind. This is Richard Brown versus Ray Peasley. So battling all up and down the field, which is exactly what we like to see. And that, I think, is actually going to be a move from Richard Brown. He dives up the inside of Ray Peasley. Ray Peasley, wow, fair play. But Ray Peasley was like, nope, you're not having that as easy as Brown wanted it. So Ray Peasley manages to keep that position. Fair play for hanging around the outside there. That's a very, very tricky corner. It's so bumpy on the outside. You've got to be very, very cautious. But again, manages to keep it in check. Which is exactly what we'd like to see. So Richard Brown has to do it all over again. A little bit further up the field, though, Daryl Taylor has made a move, or is making a move on Martinez de la Cruz, but Martinez outbreaks him, going through there side by side. This is going to allow Mike Busson to come up. Look at Mike Busson, he's sitting, he can't get through, unfortunately. The car really widened. Oh, Martinez had a big half spin. He manages to save it, does exactly the right thing, which is just mash your foot to the floor on the brakes. Manages to hold it, but that has cost him one position, possibly two, to Dave Kirkman's right there. But let's not count Dave Kirkman out, because we know how aggressive he can be, and he wants a position. You can just see it. De La Cruz is battling a fair bit of damage to keep, that's something to keep in mind. So, yeah, we will have to be, we will have to keep an eye out for that. So I wonder if this is, I imagine this is aiding to the fact that, this will be certainly aiding to the fact why Martinez de la Cruz has lost a couple of positions. Something's happened to Paul Crabb as well. Oh, yes, Paul Crabb's had a big moment. What's happened to Paul Crabb there? Wow, okie dokie. That's a big incident as well. That's a massive crash. Absolutely huge crash, that is. Paul Graham has to jump into the bits. That is, unfortunately, I mean, there's no returning from that. Absolutely none. So that's a big, big shame there. I wonder why there was... I wonder what happened there. Like I said, so many people... Paul Crab was dropping out of the order like a stone. I think, yeah, Martinez de la Cruz's damage is really, really starting to hurt him because no matter how late he goes on the brakes, he just cannot keep that pace through. Kevin goes a little bit over the grass there, just using a bit more than all of the track. But manages to keep it going though. So unfortunately, Martinez de la Cruz. Oh my goodness! What on earth? That is. Who was that? Is that Dave Dowson and Daryl Taylor? Wow, that was an interesting one. Oh, was it even an instant? Let's have a look at instant replay here. This is Daryl Taylor. No, it looked to be just on his own accord. So what happened here? So he goes through. Is it just a bit too aggressive? Oh, it just catches the rear brakes. Absolutely nothing he can do. And oh my goodness, how on earth is Mike Busson still going with that? He must have wow. He must have an insane amount of damage. In all honesty, Daryl Taylor's car doesn't look damaged at all. Oh, no, actually, no, tell a lie. It's got a bit of damage on the front left, but we're near much as I thought it would have. Mike Busson's still going. It looks like he's just not been phased at all. He just sort of casually did a wheelie, and now he's on the way again. I don't understand how that works, but at the end of the day, yeah, he's got a bit of damage on the front, but, I mean, nothing compared to what I thought there was going to be there. So Mike Busson, well, there we go. I mean, you couldn't do anything at that point. He was completely... he was a passenger. You know, you'll get it's such a... You've got to be committed into that corner as well. Oh, De La Cruz goes for a bit of a lunge. And that may cost him to Graham Brown. In fact, I think it is costing him to Graham Brown. No, Graham Brown backs out of it, though. He's got almost exactly the same damage. Carbon copy, identical cars. I think there is. It pretty much is identical damage. And I thought that was going to be a position lost there for De La Cruz as well. So he tried to get up the inside. I mean, brave on the brakes, but maybe just a little bit overzealous, especially with the damage that he's trying to nurse. Busson's still got pace. We'll have to keep an eye on it because he has got a bit of damage on the rear as well as now he has on the front. Chris there just mentioning that it's certainly a bit of... it's all kicked off a little bit now. Very, very true. Very, very true. There's been another big incident. Pat Seaborn and Richard Brown. Apparently, what on earth has happened here? Is there going to be... It's on the dirty part of the circus. There's a little bit of grass now. Oh, Pat Seaborn just outbrakes himself. And manages to keep it. I wonder if Richard Brown did the same thing. He was following. Oh, no, this is Richard Brown here. There's a fair few replays to have a look at. I mean, we've got a little bit of breathing space, which is fine. So Richard Brown, a bit too aggressive on throttle. Again, does the right thing, gets away with a half spin. Graham Brown has had a moment now. Bear in mind, he started P2. Yeah, there was it. Yes, I reckon Graham Brown's done exactly the same thing. So he pulls to the back to the racing line, but yeah, just a little bit too quick in. And the rear just overtakes him. So easy to do in this car, because again, the cars are so stiff. And the suspension is absolutely so unforgiving at a street circuit like this. Damien G, what's happened to Damien G? Again, lock up for the brakes. Manages to find reverse eventually, and then away he goes. Pat Seaborn had another moment. Actually, no, this is the same moment from Pat Seaborn. James Child, this is the final replay we're going to have a look at. James Child coming down, getting long brakes. It's the same again. A bit too early on throttle. No, interestingly. Oh, no, there we go. That's the move there. Oh, that's a heavy hit. That's a heavy hit there for James Child. That could be race ending. In all this, he's still going. The position or the damage that he's got is obviously manageable actually on circuit, which I'm very, very surprised at. I'll have to see if he's able to continue that. Graham Brown and then Daryl Taylor having a bit of a scrap here in these closing stages of the race. Martinez de la Cruz on his no man land. You can just see him up ahead there. He's got a couple of seconds ahead. He's got around about 8/10 of a second behind. So it depends if Taylor and Brown battle, then there's no way they're going to catch De La Cruz. Although with the pace that De La Cruz is doing, going to be tricky. Daryl Taylor could catch. I think Daryl Taylor would be able to catch. I think Graham Brown just a little bit shy of pace at the moment. Although in saying that, Daryl Taylor had a mistake there, so I don't think he's going to don't think this is going to help him actually catch up, unfortunately. He's going to have to really, really pull something out of the bag in these final few laps. Bear in mind, he's also got to then get past Graham Brown before he catches up to De La Cruz. You can see that it's just ticking over. It's almost darting between the over a second and then under a second. Martina Ward and Pat Seaborn having a bit of a scrap. Yes, they are. This is the battle for P16. Martina Ward is a little, ever so slight kiss of the wall there for Seaborn. Just catches a few sparks. We've got Martin Booker who's sailing away with the front. Reminds me, this is obviously for John that's watching. This is what we've seen for the first few rounds. Actually, this is normally what we see is the person at the front doesn't get any airtime because they're so far up ahead, and it's just an absolutely dominant race at the moment. That's another spin that's Paul Crabb that's had another spin. Also, Damien G's had another spin. Again, same place. Yeah, it's a little bit too... Oh, no. Actually, no. Maybe through the left. And there we go. Yeah, you could just hear... You hear the revs pick up as the curb... as they go over the curb, and it just sends the car around. There's absolutely no way of saving it, unfortunately. So, yeah, a bit of a shame. De La Cruz has lost a fair bit of time. I wonder if he's getting to the point where his car is becoming just too difficult to maintain, especially as the tyres start dropping. He's only got, he's got to stay in front for a couple of laps. That's all he's got to do, and nothing else. That's all he's got to do is just stay in that positioning for another couple of laps. This is... Who was that? I thought Richard Brown passed. Past Damien. I wonder... you can see a puff of smoke. Whoa! Okay, that was why, because Damien G spun that. Okay. Well, let's... there's a replay that's got to be viewed there. What happened to... I think he just loses it into turn... Does he lose it into turn 1? Oh, yeah, you could see the weight transfer happen there. Wow, that was aggressive. Does he reverse? No. He did the right thing. He just stayed where he was. He didn't do anything. So unfortunately, that was just going in. I mean, unfortunately, almost it's a very, very tricky. It's a tricky corner to go through the left-hander, especially when you're trying to go through fast. And unfortunately, Dawson, Damon G was just caught in the brunt of it. Couldn't really do much else. And in all honesty, Graham Brown versus Darrell Taylor. Still, Martinez De La Cruz is there, but he's there, but not there. In a way, he's just too far up ahead at the moment. I think for Graham Brown to be able to think about making moves. So unless he's able to catch up quite considerably in these last couple of laps, he's got to gain, what's that, 3/10 of the next 2 laps now to actually make it. He's already pulled the 10th. Have a look at Darrell Taylor behind, though, because he's got to pull, what's that, best part of a second now. He is catching up. He is catching, and I think he's faster than Brown at the moment. But Brown's doing a very, very good defensive drive. There's just a few areas where De La Cruz is a little bit faster, and it's just enough, I think. It's just enough to keep ahead. You see Darrell Taylor. You can see the fact that Taylor's car isn't damaged because he's just pulling lengths on both Martinez and Brown. Darrell Taylor's just... If he was a couple of tenths behind, he would just cruise past. Wouldn't even need to make a really attacking manoeuvre. He'd just pull out and then pull back straight back in. 2 laps to go though. Martin Booker is on his final lap. Speaking of which, let's have a look at Martin Booker. How is his car? There we go. His car is looking absolutely perfect. Nothing there. He said that he liked. He did say that he liked the Detroit Street Circuit, and I think this is evidently true. This cements the fact that he does. So. Yeah, very, very impressive stuff. White flag already, so 1 more lap to go. And this does mean 1 more lap to go. Well, a lap and a quarter now for likes of Graham Brown. Darrell Taylor, I think, yeah, Martinez De La Cruz is too far up the road at the moment, so Taylor needs to focus on trying to get past Brown. Now, if he can stay here by going down into turn 3, I reckon he'll have the manoeuvre. Just gets about as close as you want, as close as you dare to the wall. Mike Busson is dropping a little bit of time. What's happening to Mike Busson? He's close, though. Darrell Taylor is close. He needs to keep the pace. It's a very, very wide line. Cuts the back off. You can see that's already helping him. 2/10 is the gap. 10th and a half. Down to a 10th. Might even be the move done and dusted before down into turn 3. And I think it is. It's going to be the move done. Yeah, look at that. The move is done. Does he keep it in check? Yes, he does. And Graham Brown has a spin. I thought he was going to get away with just a half spin, but he gets on the throttle too early. Unfortunately, has dropped a bit of pace. Busson has dropped pace as well. He's really dropped pace. I don't think it's going to be enough, but it's certainly, he's leaving it a little bit, cutting it a little bit fine there. Martin Booker, though, coming down final few corners before he takes the win. And in fact, I think he's pretty much there. He is indeed. There we go. So Martin Booker takes round 4 victory here at Detroit Street Circuit. What a dominant performance. 12 seconds up the road from P2 as Colin Wynn. Again, fantastic performance for Colin there. Really, really good stuff. Paul Clark, another 8 seconds behind that. What a race for all those 3 drivers. Very, very dominant from P2 to P1 to P3 there. Dave Kirkman takes a very, very good P4 as well. Is there going to be any additional movements? It's half a second was the gap in the end between Buston and Martinez, so it was certainly getting down another lap. That would have been very, very entertaining to say the least in those final few moments. Damien G, Dave Dowson still pretty close to one another. Well, they were pretty close to one another. I think Damien G had a bit of a moment, so that has cost him. A few more drivers to finish, and then we will be bringing you the results for round number 4. What a race indeed. Now, Detroit can always be that bit of a tricky... it can always be that hit and miss circuit of how the racing goes. But I think all in all, that was some pretty good racing to be had there, in all honesty. That was... there was a couple of interesting manoeuvres there, a couple of sends that didn't quite work. But I think everyone's still very, very, very fair, very respectful. Only a few drivers that weren't able to finish. Graham Brown, Michael May, Kevin Budgeon being a few, and then Austin Greterex there also unable to finish. Here are your results, so as we bring them up for you. And in fact, there we are. So Martin Booker takes the race victory again, winning by 12.2 seconds. And what a drive there. Colin Wynn takes second with Paul Clark in P3. Dave Kirkman takes P4, Mike Busson in 5th, Sergio Martinez takes P6, and Darrell Taylor takes 7th. Graham Brown P8, Dave Rolderson in P9, with James Child rounding out the top 10. Ray Peasley takes P11, Dave Dowson 12th, and Damien G P13, Pat Seaborn 14th, Paul Crabb in 15th, and then Martin Ward finishing lap down in P16, one of the last cars to be running. Richard Brown was still also running as well, P17. Graham Brown 18th, Michael LeMay 19th, Kevin Budgeon takes 20th, and unfortunately Austin Greterex not making the start, takes P21. So that is your final results. In a few moments we are going to bring some drivers in, hopefully, to be able to have a quick catch up and a quick conversation with everyone, for which I am very much looking forward to having a chat. And it does depend on as to who we're going to be getting in. We'll leave it a couple of moments before we get people in. In fact, while we wait for the drivers to come into the interview waiting room, we're going to go for a quick advert break. We'll be back in a few moments to chat with our top 3 of round number 4. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back, everyone, to round number 4. What an entertaining race that was, to say the least. We have got a couple of drivers in the commentary booth that we are going to have a chat with now. And the first driver we're going to have a chat with, I'd like to have a very, very quick chat with is Mr. Martin Booker. Martin, last week you said that you enjoyed Daytona. You said you enjoyed Detroit. I think that certainly made it. I think we couldn't really have asked for more in that fact, could we? Certainly, it was. I think again, sorry, we had a couple of audio issues there. So sorry, we'll just try that again. Martin, we said we liked Detroit last week. I mean, again, I know you mentioned you've raced Skippies here, but that was still. I mean, even so, 12 and a half seconds you won by. That's a pretty impressive margin.
Yeah, I was quite pleased. I was just sort of getting on with it really. Once I sort of got Colin out of draft, I just sort of got my head down and just sort of drove really. Just tried to avoid the walls.
Well, like I said, it definitely seemed to work. No, it was really, really good, very, very entertaining to watch. We had John watching and Chris watching as well. So no, it was very, very entertaining. Really, really good fun to watch. And next week, obviously, for the life of me, I'm trying to search for the calendar. Normally, I should have this on me, but again, feeling confident for next week.
I'm not sure what the track is, to be honest.
Neither am I. I should be, considering that I'm commentating on this, but I always go through. I know most things. Unfortunately, the calendar is unfortunately not one of them. But I mean, again, this is going to be, regardless of where we go next, this is going to be a confidence boost.
I think it's Bathurst.
Yeah. Oh, Bathurst. Yeah. Well, I traditionally do really badly at Bathurst, so it might be situation normal again next week. I shall try and take this win in and see if that helps.
Well, hopefully it does. Martin, again, very, very well done. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And
thank you very much.
Hopefully catch up with you again next week.
Cheers, guys.
Martin Booker there. Dave, I mean, again, P4 for yourself overall. We were having a few scraps in during the race. I mean, overall, I think it was pretty solid performance.
Yes, thank you. I was really pleased with that. I did a practice yesterday, and I really felt that actually going low downforce, although it was a little bit more sketchy, was the faster option, and certainly down the straights would kind of give me the edge. Just in the corners, I just have to keep it balanced, basically. But generally, I seem to be quite good at able to kind of hold it when I get the back end out. So I took a bit of a risk really and went that way. Qualified I think 8th and avoided the carnage at the start. I had a really good battle with Mike and Daryl on Daryl in the corner before the long straight, around the back straight. I put my nose on the inside, and as I went into the corner, just slightly, I thought he's not seen me, so I backed out and the back end just came out. But again, I kind of managed to hold it somehow and didn't hit anything, and I actually didn't damage the car for the whole race, so I'm quite pleased about that. That was a good run for me.
Yeah, well, I think, considering with all that went on and how tight the street circuit is, I mean, very, very impressive stuff indeed. To keep the car, like I said, unscathed, which I think you were probably only one of about 4 or 5 people. Considering you were battling as well, it was again very, very impressive. I think everyone was involved in a little bit of a knock here and there, but no, very, very impressive stuff. Again, same question I asked to Martin. Next week, confidence?
Bathurst is another one of those tracks where you have to be lucky as well. You've got to qualify well to get up and avoid the carnage that inevitably happens. It's really, I don't know what setup I'm going to use, whether I'll go for low downforce again, but because there's quite a lot of long straights there, so it probably is low downforce. I don't know, but let's see how it goes. But I'm looking forward to it. This race actually surprised me. I thought it was going to be harder than it actually was. That's not to say it wasn't hard, because it was hard, but it from my point of view, in terms of keeping it on the track and keeping clean, that was really good for me.
Good. Good. Well, and, I think, that P4, very, very good stuff indeed. Dave, thank you again, and I'll look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Yep, thanks.
There we go. Dave Kirkman there, P4 for the event. So very, very impressive drive there, considering battling and keeping the car unscathed. Very, very good stuff. But that is all we have time for. Thank you again, as always, for watching, for continuing to show your support on the stream, and for supporting this fantastic series. It's very, we do very much appreciate it. If you haven't already, please do make sure you do you consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Any subscribe, like, anything like that really does help the channel and this series as well gain traction and gain momentum. We will see you next week for what I believe is Bathurst for week number 5. Bathurst is always an entertaining race, and one of the highlights that I had from the very, very first season, and one of the very first series that Absolute Sim Racing actually broadcasted with this UK and Ireland Radical Race series all the way back, almost a year ago. It's amazing to think where the time has gone. But we will see you next week. As always, everyone, take care and stay safe, and we'll see you out on track.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.